Burning more fat during your workout does not mean you lose more body fat. If you train fasted to lose fat, this matters because one of the most common fat loss strategies is built on that misunderstanding. There is a belief that sits at the foundation of almost every fat loss plan. Train before breakfast, no food, no fuel. Burn more fat, and here's why it works. When you train fasted, fat oxidation increases. Your body uses more fat during the session. That part is real. But this is where it breaks. Your body does not lose fat session by session. It manages energy across the day, across the week. And when fat oxidation spikes in the morning, your body compensates. Later, appetite rises, movement drops, fuel use shifts. So the real question isn't, did you burn more fat during the workout? It's this, what happened after the workout ended? Because that determines whether you actually lost fat. And once you understand that, the entire strategy starts to fall apart. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why. If you are new here, this channel does one thing. It takes the mechanisms behind fat loss and performance and makes them clear. No opinions, no sponsors, just what the evidence shows. If that is useful to you, subscribe now because wave 2 of this channel starts this week and it goes deeper than anything we covered in wave 1. Let me start by being fair to the belief because it is not stupid. It is built on real biology. When you wake up, after 8 hours without food, blood glucose is low, insulin is low. Your glycolytic pathway is not loaded. So when you start moving, your body shifts toward fat as the primary fuel source. Circulating free fatty acids rise. Fat oxidation goes up. This is measurable. This is documented. This is real. And the logic chain from there feels airtight. More fat burned during the session. Less fat stored in the body. Better fat loss over time. Every step of that chain feels logical. The problem is not in the logic. The problem is in what the logic is missing. Stay with me here because the mechanism I'm about to explain is the reason this belief falls apart. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Here's what the belief gets wrong. Your body does not account for fat loss session by session. It does not tally up. The fat oxidized at 6 a.m. and call that your result for the day. Your body manages energy over time, over 24 hours, over weeks, over months. And when fat oxidation spikes during a fasted session, something else happens. Your body compensates. Appetite increases. Later in the day, substrate use shifts elsewhere. Glycogen replenishment draws on different pathways. The 24-hour energy picture often looks remarkably similar to a fed training day. This is not a theory. This is the adaptive physiology of a system built to survive. Your body is not a calculator. That adds up fat burned per session. It is an adaptive system that responds to totals, not to moments. And here's what that means for your fat loss plan. If fat loss is driven by total energy balance over time, then the variable that matters is not whether you burned more fat at 6 a.m. It is whether your total energy picture across the day and week produces a consistent deficit and whether your training sessions are high enough quality to produce an adaptation signal. Fasted training does not improve either of those things by default. In some people, it makes them worse. Now here's where we go from mechanism to evidence, because I'm not asking you to take my word for any of this. 3 pieces of research. Each one attacks the belief from a different angle. Let me walk you through them one at a time. The first study is the one most often used to justify fasted cardio. So I want to be very precise about what it actually found. Aird and colleagues published a meta-analysis in 2018. They looked at multiple studies comparing fasted and fed aerobic exercise. Their primary outcomes were substrate oxidation during exercise and performance. On substrate oxidation, the finding was clear. Fasted exercise produced higher circulating free fatty acids. Post-exercise, fat oxidation during the session went up. That part of the belief is real. Pre-exercise feeding improved performance in prolonged aerobic exercise. Sessions lasting more than 60 to 90 minutes. For shorter bouts, the difference was not statistically significant. What Aird did not find was a body composition advantage for fasted training. The meta-analysis confirmed the mechanism. Fat oxidation goes up, but body fat outcomes, that was not the question. It was designed to answer. And that is exactly the problem. With how this study gets used, people cite Aird as proof that fasted cardio burns more fat. It is proof that you burn more fat during the session. Those are different claims. So if Aird does not tell us, what happens to body composition? The question is, who does? Because someone controlled for that directly. And the result is not what the fitness industry wants to hear. Schoenfeld and colleagues ran a body composition study in 2014, and the design was as clean as this kind of research gets. Participants were placed in a calorie deficit. They performed volume equated aerobic training, same exercise, same total calories, same training volume. One group trained fasted, one group trained fed. They ran this for 4 weeks, then measured fat mass and fat-free mass. Let that sit for a second. Same calories, same training volume, different fuel timing. Same body composition result. The fat burning during the fasted sessions was higher. We know that from the mechanism. The body composition outcome was identical. The body compensated across the day, across the week. The 24-hour picture balanced out, and the outcome reflected the total, not the moment. This is the direct evidence, and it does not just fail to support the belief. It shows the belief was built on a mechanism that does not translate to outcomes. Now I know what some of you are thinking. That was aerobic training. What about resistance training? What about muscle retention? Because if you're trying to build muscle and lose fat at the same time, the stakes are different. So let me give you the third piece of evidence. A 2025 systematic review examined fasted resistance training specifically. This is the most recent and most directly applicable evidence for most people watching this. The review compared overnight fasted resistance training against fed conditions, looking at body composition, muscle hypertrophy, and strength outcomes. The conclusion was consistent with the aerobic evidence. Fasted and fed resistance training produced comparable outcomes for body composition, for hypertrophy, and for strength, the researchers noted. The evidence has nuances. Different fasting contexts vary. The picture is not perfectly clean, but the central finding held across the review. 3 pieces of evidence, same conclusion. Different methodologies, different populations, different training modes. The belief that fasted training produces better fat loss or better body composition is not supported by the direct evidence. So now we need to do something important. Breaking a belief without replacing it just creates confusion. And I do not want you to leave this video with a gap where the belief used to be. So here is the correct mental model and why it changes how you should be thinking about every session from here. Fat loss and body composition change are driven by 3 variables in this order, and fuel timing is not one of them. First, total energy balance over time. Second, training quality and consistency. Third, recovery, fuel timing sits below all 3 of these. It is a preference variable, not a performance variable, not a fat loss variable. And here's why. That distinction matters. If you train fasted and your sessions are identical to your fed sessions, same intensity, same output, same quality, then fasted training is a neutral choice. Use it for convenience. But if your fasted sessions are flatter, lower output, earlier fatigue, higher perceived exertion, then fasted training is not neutral. It is actively degrading training quality, and a slightly lower quality session twice a week for 12 weeks is a meaningful training debt. It compounds. That loss came from optimizing a mechanism that does not produce the outcome people are chasing. And this connects to everything coming next because the same pattern appears everywhere. People sacrifice the inputs that actually drive results in pursuit of mechanisms that feel like shortcuts.